ॐ शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। यजुः पादभुजो गुह्यः प्रकाशो जङ्गमस्तथा अमोघार्थः प्रसादश्च अभिगम्यः सुदर्शनः। यजुः पादभुजो गुह्यः प्रकाशो जङ्गमस्तथा अमोघार्थः प्रसादश्च अभिगम्यः सुदर्शनः। यजुः पादभुजो गुह्यः प्रकाशो जङ्गमस्तथा अमोघार्थः प्रसादश्च अभिगम्यः सुदर्शनः. Last class we have seen that Shiva is the tattva of, is the essence of the Sama, Atharva and the Rik Vedas, and he has more than 1,000 eyes. Thus, he is the eternal witness. This shloka says he is also the Yajuf Pada Bhujaha. He is also the Yajurveda. He is the purport of the Yajurveda, the essence of it, the cream, so to speak. Pada Bhujaha. So he is also the form of trees. So Padabhuk means one which eats or drinks through its legs, just as Padapa. So Padabhuja in Samskrtam means trees, vegetation. He is also the form of vegetation. Guhyaha is one who is very concealed, one who is very confidential. So Guhyaha. But at the same time, he is also Prakasha. Prakasha means one which is out loud, which is known to everybody. Guhya, the opposite of that is Prakasha. Prakasha, he is of the form of, uh, light. That can also be another meaning. But Prakasha also just means he is out loud and known to everybody around him. Prakasha, Jangamas Tatha. Jangamaha, he is one who constantly moves. Jangama. It's also a synonym for Parivrajaka. One who Jangamyate iti Jangamaha. One who constantly moves, is on the move, is called as Jangama. Amogharthaha. His purpose in life is Amogha, is magnificent. It also means it is without mm, it's without flaws. Amogharthaha. He has a flawless purpose which he always achieves, which he already has achieved. Amoghartha prasadascha. Now this word again, which means he is the calm, he is serene, he is absolutely still and peaceful. Amoghartha prasadascha abhigamyah sudarshanaha. Abhigamyah, one who must be approached. Abhigamyah, one who is worthy of being approached, is called abhigamyah. And Sudarshana is one whose darshana, whose meeting or whose appearance is very auspicious. Sudarshana, one whose appearance, whose darshana is very auspicious, very holy. Sudarshana, or very beautiful. Yajuh pada bhujo guhyah prakasho jangamastatha अमोघार्थः प्रसादश्च अभिगम्य सुदर्शनः उपकारः प्रियः सर्वः कनकः काञ्चनच्छविः नाभिर्नन्दिकरो भावः पुष्करस्थपति स्थिरः. This shloka has a lot of visargas. Please note it down somewhere. That the first visarga turns into a fa, the second because there is sa it turns into sa, the third because there is ka it turns into kha sound, the fourth also similarly because of the ka, the fifth one here because it is towards the end of a sentence it takes on the swara of the previous, the previous swara, so here it is e, so it becomes ihi, chavihi, bhavav Again, because of the pa, this becomes fa. And here, because of the sa, the visarga becomes sa again. I know it's all too much to understand and quickly grasp. However, with practice, you will pick it up soon. उपकारः प्रियः सर्वः कनकः काञ्चनच्छविः नाभिर्नन्दिकरो भावः पुष्करस्थपतिस्थिरः उपकारः प्रियः सर्वः कनकः काञ्चनच्छविः नाभिर्नन्दिकरो भावः पुष्करस्थपतिस्थिरः उपकारः प्रियः सर्वः कनकः काञ्चनच्छविः नाभिर्नन्दिकरो भावः पुष्करस्थपतिस्थिरः. He is upakara, he is the form of aid, help that we get, especially in dire and dire circumstances and calamities. He is the form of the upakara, which comes, sometimes, in fact, most of the time, upakara comes from unknown sources or from those who we didn't even expect to help, or who we had absolutely no previous contact with. And so upakara, someone on the road, who meets with an accident, some stranger will come and help us. And so we say, oh, he has come as our God to save us at the right moment. So he is that upakara. Priyaha, one who is very lovable. He is the beloved. Sarvaha, he is everything. Kanakaha, he is the form of gold. Kanakaha. It also means wealth. So because gold was the mode of transaction earlier, so it can mean both wealth as well as actual gold. Kanchana chavihi. Kanchana also means gold. He has the chavi, he has the luster of gold. He is gold himself and he is also golden in appearance. Kanchana chavihi. Kanchana chavihi. Nabhir, he is the form of the navel. Nabhi, Nabhi is navel. Nandikaraha, one who brings joy. Now, all these meanings we have already seen earlier in the previous shlokas. So I'm just quickly breezing through. Nandikaraha is one who brings joy to others. Bhavaha, he is two meanings again. Bhava can also mean emotions. He is the form of all emotions. And secondly, bhava also means existence itself. He is bhavaha. Pushkarastha patihi. Pushkara is lotus. Pushkara is lotus. Pushkarastha patihi. He is the Lord who sits on the lotus. Who is that? Who is that Lord who sits on the lotus? Brahma. That's right. Brahma. So he is also the form of Brahma. And sthiraha, which was the very first word with the Sahasranaama when it began. Sthira means sthirasthan of Prabhurbhimaha. Sthira is one who is absolutely still. Sthira, still. Upakarah priyah sarvah kanakah kanchanachhavihi nabhirnandikaro bhavah pushkarasthapatistiraha. द्वादशस्त्रासनश्चाद्यो यज्ञो यज्ञसमाहितः नक्तङ्कलिश्च कालश्च मकरः कालपूजितः द्वादशस्त्रासनश्चाद्यो यज्ञो यज्ञसमाहितः नक्तं कलिश्च कालश्च मकरः कालपूजितः द्वादशस्त्रासनश्चाद्यो यज्ञो यज्ञसमाहितः नत्तं कलिश्च कालश्च मकरः कालपूजितः द्वादशस्त्रासनश्चाद्यो यज्ञो यज्ञसमाहितः नक्तं कलिश्च कालश्च मकरः कालपूजितः excuse me. Dwadashaha, he is the 12th. It literally means he is the 12th. So what is the Dwadashaha? What is the 12th? So there are the 11 Rudras. There are the Ekadasha Rudras. These are uh, the horde of Rudra Ganas or Shiva in different 11 aspects, all existing simultaneously. So you can think of them as being clones, but not really clones because they do have some minor differences in appearance and weapons they hold between them. He is the 12th. Now, Dwadashaha thus therefore refers to that fundamental substance or entity which was the cause of these 11 Rudras. So he is the 12th. So just as in Vedanta we say the first state is Jagrat, the second is Tejasa, which means the dream or any hallucinatory states, and the third is complete shutdown, which is called deep sleep or Sushupti. And then it defines the fourth state called the Turiya, which means literally the fourth, which is that substance which lends itself to the other three states. So, in such a manner, the Shastra, the Stotram is defining him to be the Dwadashaha, the 12th. Trasanaha, he who is the terrorizer, Trasanaha, he who is the terrorizer, jokingly you can call him the terrorist also, because he terrorizes all living beings with death. So he is the Trasana, the fundamental fear of any living creature is death itself. So he is the Trasanaha. Cha Adya. Adya is one who came first, one who is the foremost, the primal. Adya. Yajna. And in fact, you can also think of Adya in relation with Adya Yajna. He is the first or the primordial Yajna. And there is this scholar called Devdutt Patnaik. I think he defines this Yajna very well. He says Yajna is an exchange. So it literally means to exchange. Some exchange is called a Yajna. In the Purusha Suktam too, Deva yad yajnam tanvanaha abadhnan purusham pashum. So the Purusha Suktam goes on to say that at the beginning of the universe, all the Devas did a yajna. And into this yajna, so this was an exchange. So they had this yajna mandapa, and into it they offered the Purusha itself. Now, Purusha here refers to that created deity. You can say it is Brahma. So they offered Brahma itself into the yajna, and out came the universe. This is how they visualize the creation. The Purusha Sutta visualizes the creation. So he is the Adya Yajna. So that was the very first yajna which happened. He is that form of the exchange where the universe was born from that metamorphosis of the supreme deity, transforming it into the cosmos itself. Adya Yajna. And Yajna Samahitaha. He is the one who is worshipped or one who manifests through a yajna, through any ritual, a spiritual ritual, or you can say a religious ritual. He is pleased or he is manifested in the yajnas. Yajna Samahitaha. By the way, yajna was just pointing to this fact that it is an exchange. So into the fire, you offer something, right? Why? Because you're giving first to the devas, and the devas give us in return a few boons, some of the few boons, which I mean, out of the big wish list that we have, which when we present towards the devas, when we chant these mantras, they will choose according to our karmas which boon to be given, which wish to be fulfilled. So this is the yajna, the exchange between the devas and the manushyas. In fact, even the Bhagavad Gita says, Devan bhavayata nena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayanta shreyah paramavapsyatha. He says, I through Brahma uh, started this, was the first one to initiate this concept of an exchange, of trading, where you, so he's saying this, so you as humans can do this yajna to get some supernatural intervention in your lives. Because not always all exchanges which happen in the material realm or in the mortal realm are always fruitful or enough. So we will need some divine interventions from time to time. So originally it started off as exchange between the devas and the rishis, where the rishis would pray for things beyond the human control, like rain, like stopping forest fires. There has been this forest fire. Even in the 21st century, there's a raging forest fire in California, which has been going on for quite some time. I think maybe it's been a month, and people are still finding it difficult to control it. So, such natural elements and natural calamities, which are beyond the human control. In fact, they would even ask for prajas because they thought, and it is to an extent true, that praja, having a good, healthy baby, is still somehow to do with the interventions of the devas. So that is the concept of a yajna. Naktam, he is the night, Night, night. Kali, as we have seen, he is dark. He is he is the embodiment of evil in the Kali Yuga. Kala, Kali and Kala. He is Kala because he is time. He is time itself, the present, past, and the future. And once again, you see, Kala, time, the idea of time itself remains still undefined properly in science. We can only say time is between 2 seconds, right? And similarly, in subjective experience, we can measure time only through two thoughts. And so when I say the clock is ticking 7:24, so there's a mechanism within the laptop and the watch, which is the crystal is turning and it is changing between two states. And that time period between those two ticks is what we call time. But if you look at this definition carefully, we already have used the term time period in the definition of time. So you see, it's a very cyclical definition, and we still cannot really define what this period means, what time means, because these are very fundamental questions. And so just in line with this, uh, they say the rishis, when they would sit for tapasya, time would just flow like that. And why is that so? So the yogic scriptures give a very nice explanation where they say the so like we defined, time is between two changes. So without change, there can be no time. Between two states. So the yogi who sits in samadhi has focused his mind to such an extent that there is only single thought. And therefore, the very idea of time itself becomes redundant. You cannot really measure time. And this, in fact, to happens to a lesser extent even when we sleep, right? When we lose track of time. We think we would have slept for just half an hour, but it would have been 8 hours or 6 hours, whatever. And we really never are able to exactly show this is when I first dreamt, and this is when I actually slept without dreams, and so on. Because all of this concept of time seems to be subjective. So he is that undefinable philosophical idea, this abstract notion of a time. Makaraha, he is in the form of a crocodile. You see, in each of these slokas, you will be able to find something which is very rooted, which is very grounded. So yeah, Shiva is Makara, means he is a crocodile. So the next time when we go to a zoo and see a Makara, the idea was to to remember this shloka and thus identify that creature, that phenomenon also as being Shiva itself. And so there is one idea in the shloka which is very grounded, which is very physical. One idea which will be very intellectual and conceptual. The third, which is very emotional. Fourth, which is very spiritual and abstract also. So it would be always a combination of all these four. Makaraha and Kala Pujitaha. So maybe, if we do ever make a new stotram in 21st century, we should start adding mobileaha, laptopaha, chargeraha, and so on. Because every time because we are actually looking at these things more than looking at crocodiles, lions, trees, sky, and such. So even these are the forms of Shiva itself. Makaraha, Kala Pujitaha. He is worshipped by Kala itself. And here Kala refers to Yama, death. He is uh, he is venerated, revered by death itself. The very famous story of Markandeya, where he was destined to live for only 12 years. And I think 16, sorry, 16 years. And when Yama comes, as soon as his time is up, his expiry date he has reached his expiry date. He comes and puts the noose around Markandeya, young Markandeya. But Markandeya has been a bhakta of Shiva all throughout his life. And naturally so, not just to evade death, but he has been a natural, genuine, desireless bhakta of Shiva. And so he hugs the linga then. And from the linga emerges Shiva himself. And he stomps on Yama and frightens him with, you see, Trasana. He frightens him with the Trishula, and Yama thus puts down his crown and begs for his forgiveness and vows that never ever from that incident onward will Yama ever come to a bhakta without the permission, an explicit permission and consent of Shiva. And so this is to just elaborate how uh, Shiva Bhakta's death can only be first sanctioned by Shiva itself. द्वादशस्त्रासनश्चाद्यो यज्ञो यज्ञसमाहितः नक्तं कलिश्च कालश्च मकरः कालपूजितः सगणो गणकारश्च भूतवाहनसारथिः भस्मशयो भस्मगोप्त भस्मभूतस्तरुर्गणः. Listen attentively. Sagano ganakarascha bhutavahana sarathihi bhasmashayo bhasmagopta bhasmabhutas tarurganaha. This word is bhasmabhutas tarurganaha. Bhasmabhutas tarurganaha. Bhuta vahana sarathihi. Sagano ganakarascha bhuta vahana sarathihi bhasmashayo bhasmagopta bhasmabhutas tarurganaha. Saganaha, he is with the Gana. He is always surrounded by his favorite disciples and favorite bhaktas. Saganaha. Ganakarascha, he is also the one who created the Ganas. Ganakaraha. So because he is of course the father of all creatures, he is also the one who actually gave that bhakti rasa in his chosen people and thus turned them into bhaktas. You see, in line with this, there is this very famous uh, Upanishad saying. Let me just recollect it. In the Mundaka, it comes. Yena. Okay, I forget the shloka itself, but it says the self is known, labhya, only by he who is chosen, he or she who is chosen by the self itself. So even at other place in the Devi Suktam, she says, Devi, which is goddess herself says, Yang kamaye tantam ugram krinomi tam brahmanam tam rishim tam sumedham. Yang kamaye tantam ugram krinomi tam brahmanam tam rishim tam sumedham. She says, it is I who choose Yam Kamaye, which it is my fantasy. Whoever I fantasize, whoever I wish and fancy, I can turn him into an Ugra. I can turn him into a terrorizer. I can also turn him into Yang Kamaye Tantam Ugram Krinomi Tam Brahmanam. I can even choose that person to become the next Brahma. Brahmanam Tam Rishim. I can choose him to be the him or her to be the next sage. Rishim Tam Sumedham. I can turn her into the next great scholar, Sumedha. So it is the self or God or goddess herself who chooses who his Gana is, who the next disciple will be, who the next Bhakta will be. So all we can do is just wait and make ourselves, keep ourselves ready in preparation. Bhuta Vahara Sarathihi. Bhuta Vahara Sarathi. He is the one who has Sarathi, his charioteer, as the Bhuta Vahana. So Bhuta Vahana refers to two people. Bhuta Vahana is the Nandi itself, because he carries the Bhutas with him. The second meaning is who is the Adi Shesha or Vasuki, because he carries the earth, or in some legends, he carries the entire universe on his head. So he is called the Bhuta Vahana. And Sarathi, he has turned Vasuki or Ananta into his charioteer. So he is Bhuta Vahana Sarathihi. And Bhasma he is Bhasma He smears himself with Bhasma. Of course, he being the resider in the Shmashanas, he takes, and this is not this Bhasma which is scented, okay? It is the Bhasma right from the cremated bodies. He smears that over himself, thus signifying that that age-old philosophy of from ashes and unto ashes. So he is that philosophy, or that he gives this constant reminder that all this accumulation is completely going to be wrecked finally in the end. So there's nothing which is eternally structured. Everything will turn into chaos, which is Bhasma basically. Bhasma Gopta, he is the one who protects the Bhasma. You see, um, after cremation, they actually carry this Bhasma in a pot, and they go to a certain river to, you know, to leave it in the river as to just scatter it into the waters and to the elements. So he is of that, he's the representation of that person who carries this Bhasma elsewhere, thus signifying that he is the one who scatters away the ashes back into the elements. Bhasma Gopta, Bhasma Bhutaha. He is the form of ash itself. Bhasma Bhutaha. He is the one who has been turned into ash because he is the body. And once it is cremated, it turns into ash. So he is also that ash. And by the way, you cannot burn ash further, you see. Ash is its most reduced form of any living matter. So he is of that form which cannot be reduced further. He cannot be incinerated further. He cannot be changed further. So he is that Bhasma. He is that Tattva which is irreducible. Bhasma Bhutaha Tarur Ganaha. Taru is a tree. You see, so many shlokas have always mentioned him as being personified as the Taru, as the trees. And Ganaha, again, he is the Gana itself. Sagano Ganakarascha Bhuta Vahana Sarathihi. भस्मशयो भस्म गोप्ता भस्म भूतस tarurganaha. By the way, also Bhuta Vahana refers to Nirrati. So there's a Devata called Nirrati who is in charge of the southwest direction. Nirrati, Nairitya Digbhage, we say. So she is a kind of a demon, kind of a Devata, and she always rides a corpse or a living man. And so she herself becomes the Sarathi to Shiva. It can also mean the same. लोकपालस्तथा लोको महात्मा सर्वपूजितः शुक्लस्त्रिशुक्लः सम्पन्नः शुचिर्भूतनिषेवितः. Listen closely. Lokapalas tatha loko mahatma sarvapujitah shuklas trishuklas sampannash shuchir bhutanishevitah. Lokapalas tatha loko mahatma sarvapujitah शुक्लस्त्रिशुक्लः सम्पन्नः शुचिर्भूतनिषेवितः. शुचिर्भूतनिषेवितः. शुक्लस्त्रिशुक्लः सम्पन्नः लोकपालस्तथा लोको महात्मा सर्वपूजितः शुक्लस्त्रिशुक्लः सम्पन्नः शुचिर्भूतनिषेवितः. Lokapalah, the Lord of the world, he runs the world. Lokapalah tatha Lokaha, he is also the world itself. Not only is he the controller, but also the world itself, the manifestation of the world. Mahatma, great soul. Sarva Pujita, worshipped by everybody, not just by humans, but all Deva, Asura, and Martya, Pashu, Kinnaras, Gandharvas, all of them. Sarva Pujitaha. Shuklaha, he is white in color. In fact, he is said to be the whitest Devata there is. He is called Shuddha Sphatika Sankasham Shuddha Vidya Pradayakam. He is of the form, he is so white, he can be compared to the Sphatika Mani, the quartz jewel, the quartz crystal. Shuklaha, he is that white. So he's actually not blue as, unlike how he is depicted in all these calendar images. He's actually completely white and only his neck is dark. And it's sometimes dark gray or dark blue. Shuklas Trishuklaha. He is the form of the Tri Shukla. So he represents three Shukla. So it means 3 15 days wala period. So he represents a 45-day period. Basically a mandala. So, in sadhana, we say a mandala is about 40 or 48 days. He represents that. So he's called Tri Shuklaha, which is the ripe time for, or the apt, appropriate time for doing any meditation or any sadhana in full. 48 days. They do upvasa for 48 days. Even this Ayyappa Bhaktas, the Swamis, they do for 48 days. And any japa, which is first given by Diksha, any mantra is first said to be completely done with dedication for the first 48 days and so on. So here's the Trishukla, is that auspicious 48-day period. And Sampannaha, he is also the achieved. He is that which is achieved through all our actions. All our actions. He is the Sampanna. Shuchihi. Shuchi is one who is very hygienic, one who is very clean, very pure and like a quartz without any dirt, without any sense of desire. He is Shuchihi. Bhuta Nishevitaha. He is the one who is worshipped. Nishevita, worshipped by the bhutas, by all the pancha bhutas. What are they? If you remember from last class, Prithvi, which means solids, Apas, which means liquids, Vayu, which means gases, Agni, which means plasma or energy, and the subtlemost form, which is Akasha, which is where there is no actual matter, but there is just the fields you can think of, the electrical and magnetic fields, which is the space. He is the worshipped by all these five category of matter and elements. Bhuta Nishevitaha. लोकपालस्तथा लोको महात्मा सर्वपूजितः शुक्लस्त्रिशुक्लः सम्पन्नः शुचिर्भूतनिषेवितः आश्रमस्थः क्रियावस्थो विश्वकर्ममतिर्वरः विशालशाखस्ताम्रोष्ठो ह्यम्बुजालः सुनिश्चलः आश्रमस्थः क्रियावस्थो विश्वकर्ममतिर्वरः विशालशाखस् ताम्रोष्ठो ह्यम्बुजालः सुनिश्चलः आश्रमस्थः क्रियावस्थो विश्वकर्ममतिर्वरः विशालशाखस्ताम्रोष्ठो ह्यम्बुजालः सुनिश्चलः आश्रमस्थः he lives in the ashramas as rishis. Kriyavastha, he exists in action as the doer of action. Kriyavastha, he is a doer. Vishwakarma matihi, he is the form of all actions and the impetus behind creating all actions or creating the world. So he is the mind, the brain, the brains behind the laws, behind the intelligence of the universe. Vishwakarma Matihi. He is the intelligence which is Mati behind the actions or the process of Vishwakarma, of creating the universe. He is the intelligence, the cosmic intelligence behind the universe. Varaha, he is a blessed person. He is the most excellent person, Varaha. Vishala Shakha, he has large branches as trees, which is a very repeated trope in all these shlokas, is he has large branches. Vishala Shakha. Tamroshtaha, his lips are golden in color or brass, copper, they have a copper hue. Tamroshtaha. And that happens when you have been engaged in tapasya for long. It turns somewhat, the pinkness of the lips turns somewhat copper hued. So that signifies for how long he has actually been engaged in tapasya. Tamroshtaha. He ambujalaha. Ambu means water. Jala means he is like a net of water. What does it mean? It means he is basically clouds, because you see how poetic it is. Ambujala refers to clouds because the clouds are these suspensions of water, and it is poetically visualized as being a net of water. So once you cut the net, water actually falls from the clouds. So Ambujalaha, he is the clouds, and Sunischalaha, he is the most unshaken person. So Sunischalaha, completely still. And he is that tattva which is the unchanging, undestroyable, indestructible, ageless tattva, the ageless principle, which is itself Brahman. Sunischalaha. आश्रमस्थः क्रियावस्थो विश्वकर्ममतिर्वरः विशालशाखस्ताम्रोष्ठो ह्यम्बुजालः सुनिश्चलः कपिलः कपिशः शुक्ल आयुश्चैव परोपरः. This is not chaivi, it is chaiva. Please make that correction. आयुश्चैव परोपरः गन्धर्वो ह्यदितिस्तार्क्ष्यः सुविज्ञेयस्तु शारदः. Let's go slowly. कपिलः कपिलश् शुक्ल आयुष चैव परोपरः गन्धर्वो ह्यदितिस्तार्क्ष्यः सुविज्ञेयस्तु शारदः. कपिलः कपिशस्यु क्षम्यतां कपिलः कपिशुक्ल आयुष चैव परोपरः गन्धर्वो ह्यदितिस् तार्क्ष्यस् सुविज्ञेयस् सुशारदः. कपिलः कपिशुक्ल आयुष चैव परोपरः गंधर्वो ह्यदितिस् तार्क्ष्यः सुविज्ञेयः सुशारदः. He is Kapila. He is the Maharshi Kapila, the I would say the composer. I would not even say composer, but the brains behind the Sankhya philosophy. The one who first is associated with the Sankhya philosophy is Kapila. Kapishaha. He has the form of Kapishaha. He, he is the Kapishaha. He is the form of Kapishaha, who is brown in color. Just a minute. Namaste. So, Kapilah is one who is the Maharshi Kapila. Second is Kapishaha, one who is brown in color, Kapishaha, or you can say he's gray in color. Kapisha is a mixed color, Kapisha. Shukla is one who is white in color. So he is gray, he is white. And Ayuhu, he is the lifespan. Ayuhu. Cha eva, he is also the Paroparaha. He is also the Paraha, which means the supreme, and Aparaha, which is not the supreme, which means basically the higher plane and the lower plane. Paraha, Aparaha. Kapilaha, Maharshi. Kapisha is the color. Shukla is also the color. Ayuhu he is the lifespan. Paro Paraha, he is the supreme and the mundane, the supreme and the mundane. Gandharvaha, he is the form of a Gandharva. No, these Gandharvas are the gods or demigods who are the musicians of the Devas. So these are Gandharvas, and he is that Gandharva. He Aditi is one who is the limitless, the boundless. Aditi is the boundless. Aditi Tarkshyah. Tarkshya is the Vedic god of, who later became Garuda, is Tarkshya in the Vedas. He is that bird, that golden bird, whose flapping of wings create the hurricanes and tornadoes. So he is the Tarkshya. Suvijneyah. Suvijñeya is one who must be properly understood. Suvijñeya, one who must be properly understood, properly comprehended. Suvijñeya. And Susharadaha, he is the uh, most proficient expert. Susharadaha, most proficient expert. And expert in what sense? He is the expert in all the vidyas, in all the knowledge systems. Kapilah, Kapishah Shukla Ayushchaiva Paroparah Gandharvo Hyaditistarkshas Suvijñeyas Susharadaha. Uh, just two more shlokas and then we can do the small test of the recitation of the shlokas. Parashvadhayudho Deva Anukari Subandhavaha Tumba Vino Mahakrodha Urdhvareta Jaleshayaha Parashvadhayudho Deva Anukari Subandhavaha तुम्बवीणो महाक्रोध ऊर्ध्वरेता जलेशयः परश्वधायुधो देव अनुकारी सुबान्धवः तुम्बवीणो महाक्रोध ऊर्ध्वरेता जलेशयः. Parashvadha is the axe which has the ankusha on one side, the goad on one side, and the actual axe on the other. Parashvadha. Parashvadha ayudhaha. One who wields that axe is called Parashvadha ayudhaha. Devaha. He is the Lord. Anukari. One who uh, you know one who must be okay, this is not actually literal translation. So Anukara means to actually do like the other, to imitate, to emulate. So Anukari would mean one who is to be emulated, one who must be emulated, one who is worthy of being emulated. So he is Anukari. Subandhavaha, he is the greatest friend, the greatest relative, the closest, dearest person in need. Sorry, so the person who when we are in need would come to our help. Subandhavaha. Tumba Vinaha. Tumba Vinaha is one who plays the tumba, tamburi we say, right? So it is called tumba. The tumba Vinaha. So this is a sign that he is also a musician. Of course, the Rudra Veena itself came from Rudra. And Tumba Vinaha is the tamburi. He wields that, he plays that. Mahakrodha, he is of a very fiery, rageful nature. Mahakrodha, Urdhvareta, whose semen has transformed itself into Ojas and then to Tejas and then Varchas. So which has moved up the spine. Urdhvareta, Jale Shayaha, one who sleeps uh, in water. Jale Shayaha, one who sleeps or who has made the waters his home. Jale Shayaha. So it can also mean Vishnu. So because he is also Jale Shaya, he sleeps on the waters. And it can also mean the fish because they also, so-called sleep in the water. Jale Shayaha. परश्वधायुधो देव अनुकारी सुबान्धवः कुम्भवीणो महाक्रोध ऊर्ध्वरेता जलेशयः उग्रो वंशकरो वंशो वंशनादो ह्यनिन्दितः सर्वाङ्गरूपो मायावी सुहृदो ह्यनिलो नलः उग्रो वंशकरो वंशो वंशनादो ह्यनिन्दितः सर्वाङ्गरूपो मायावी सुहृदो ह्यनिलो नलः. What is this word? It's ह्यनिलो नलः. ह्यनिलो नलः. उग्रो वंशकरो वंशो वंशनादो ह्यनिन्दितः सर्वांगरूपो मायावी सुहृदो ह्यनिलो नलः ह्यनिलो नलः ह्यनिलो नलः उग्रो वंशकरो वंशो वंशनादो ह्यनिन्दितः सर्वांगरूपो मायावी सुहृदो ह्यनिलो नलः Ugraha, one who has a very fierce form, very frightening form. Ugraha. Vamshakaraha, one who creates or is the progenitor of all the Vamshas, of all clans. He is the clan itself. He is not just the initiator, but also every person who comes in each of these clans, Vamshaha. Vamshanadaha. He plays the flute. Vamsha is also the bamboo stick, so a reed. So it is one who plays the Vamshanadaha. He is the music, the melody which emanates from the flute. Vamshanadaha. He aninditaha. He is also the uh, uncriticizable or one who is uh, mm, one who has not been rebuked, one who has not been spoken badly of. He aninditaha, one who is not insulted. Aninditaha. And what does it refer to? You see, he is because he has the holiest of gunas. He cannot be criticized for any flaw in him. So it is aninditaha, thus representing he is the perfect person. Uh, Aninditaha. Sarvanga Rupaha. He is also the form of all organs. Sarvanga Rupaha, of all organs in the body, not just of humans, but of all creatures too. Sarvanga Rupaha. Mayavi. He is the magician. Mayavi means the one who wields Maya, which means wields an illusion. One who can create illusions is called a Mayavi. Of course, he as Brahman is the supremost, you know, God who can wield the power of Maya. And Suhradaha, he is the greatest friend. You see, he is the well-wisher. Suhradaha means one who has a good heart, one who is the well-wisher of all living beings. Suhradaha. He Anilaha. He is also the Anila. Anila is uh, Vayu. It is air, which means anything which moves is called Anila, which does not stand at a place. Anilaha. Which doesn't stand at a place, which means which keeps moving. These particles which keep moving. Anilaha. And Analaha. He is also the form of uh, Anala, which is fire itself. Like we have discussed, Anala literally means one which is which cannot be satiated, which cannot be sated. Alaha, which cannot be sated, like fire, because it can keep engulfing more and more and more. There is no end to it. Analaha. So he is that form. And we also say fire in the belly, right? So we say ambition. You should have this fire, this ambition, which is also always compared to fire, because ambition and desires also, we say the flame, uh, passion, flame, you know, fiery passion, or we can also say fiery speeches and so on. So all of these are related to fire because there is no end to it. Analaha. There is no point of sufficiency. Analaha. उग्रो वंशकरो वंशो वंशनादो ह्यनिन्दितः सर्वाङ्गरूपो मायावी सुहृदो ह्यनिलो नलः. And thus we have completed our verses for today. And as we keep progressing, we will find many words repeated. And like I have said already, this stotram has not been crafted, exactly with 1,000 names, predetermined, and keeping in mind whether it has been repeated or not. It's a spontaneous outburst of first Brahma, and which has been carried forward by this various rishis through the lineage. So, as a bhakta, all of us would, in fact, mm, keep praising our beloved, sometimes with the same words, sometimes with the same themes, sometimes also with the same bhavana. And therefore, we see so many repetitions of the same words again and again. Any questions, any comments, questions, and something which you wish to add? The floor is open.
Something this 10 process you can.
So, I mean, the entire summary of all this entire Shiva Sahasranaama itself is that word which that phrase that we say, Sarvam Khalvidam Brahma. Everything in this world, uh, not just world, everything itself is Brahman. And so we can say, Sarvam Shivamayam Jagat. Everything is just Shiva. It's all filled with Shiva itself. So that is the one line purport, the one line summary of the entire stotra. So of just these 10 particular verses, the descriptions are very varied. There is no one single summary as such. So you can think of Shiva as being the representation of the Nischala Tattva, the unmoving nature. He is all living beings. He is all the people themselves. He is also the form of all vegetation. And what else? So broadly, these four things. Basically, he is uh, in all senses God because he is omnipresent, omnipotent, and omniscient. He, Shiva, is also the person as Jiva who exists and experiences the world. He is also the Jagat which is being experienced. So at various places you say he is the Gandharva, he is the Vriksha, he is the Vishala Shakha, he is the Tumba Veena, he is he is the Devas, he is that axe, Parashwadhayudha, so on and so forth. So he is as Jiva, the experiencer, he is as Jagat, the experienced, and he is also God in that he has transcended both this triputi we say, the experience, the experiencer, and the experienced, the subject, object, and the verb. The God who has transcended all these three. Yes, Miss Bhavani, please go on. Yes, ma'am, please, you can speak up.
So, Yagya Samahitaha, that thing, really, you were saying one thing like that Yagyas were performed by Devas, and as proof of that Yagya, they got Brahma himself, not Brahman, Brahma himself. So, Devas, who are those Devas actually? I mean, as we know, Brahma was first created, no? So,
Correct.
the idea which they brought Brahma, that's what I wanted to understand.
Right. So that is still actually unclear because the Purusha Suktam actually doesn't mention who those exact devas were. Probably, the Puranas tackle this issue, this missing link, by saying these were the devas from the previous kalpa, the previous cycle of creation. So whoever the previous cycle of creation's gods were, after doing the pralaya of that particular universe, they uh, they used, so to speak, the essence of that Brahman, that supreme, and they offered it into a yajna, and thus was born the new age Brahma, the creator Brahma, who then created the next cycle of gods for that age, while the previous gods would just somehow dissolve back into the yajna itself. So kind of self-immolation, but yeah. they offered everything. They offered themselves too into that yajna. And so, no, this is just a symbolic meaning. So it may have meant to be that the previous energies of maybe let's say before the Big Bang, and it's just a speculation. I'm just trying to interpret in the light of modern science. Uh, so maybe those energies or whatever these devas would represent as a physical phenomenon, uh, they came together and they morphed into uh, a new creation, a new cycle of creation, maybe through the Big Bang or whatever. But I am actually not still clear about who those exact devas were.
Thank you for explaining. One other is Sarathi. This understood very clearly. The next shloka, although you told something that the Bhuta Vahana indicates Nandi and Vasuki. Vasuki means Shiva's, Vishnu's, this thing, is it Vahana?
Yeah, yes. So Bhuta Vahana is the Ananta, the serpent on which Vishnu sleeps. Because it is said that he also carries Ananta carries the entire burden of the world on his head, on the hood, and he became the Sarathi. And when is that? It is when um, you know Shiva had to destroy the Tripuras, so the earth became the chariot, Ananta became the charioteer, Vishnu became the Bana, Brahma became the, I think, the bow, and Vasuki, the other serpent which is around Shiva's neck, became the string of the bow, and so he destroyed the Tripura using these. Uh, that is one story. The other meaning of Bhuta Vahana is one who is drawn by the bhutas. So the elements, the five elements itself become the Sarathi, the charioteer to Shiva. That is also another meaning. The third meaning is Bhuta Vahana is also the term used for Nirrati. So there's a devata called Nirrati who is in charge of the southwest direction, the cardinal direction. She is called Naravahana. She also rides a corpse or a dead body. So in that sense, she's also called a Bhuta Vahana, and she is also at in certain stories the Sarathi of Shiva of Rudra actually, because Rudra comes from the south direction as signifying death, and she comes from the southwest. So that could be the metaphor there.
Thank you so much.
Dhanyavad. Yes, Usha ma'am, please ask.
Same question as Srimati Bhavani raised. When Agni is the same himself has been provided. But it's different theory or similar kind of thought has been taken into consideration. In such cases, if previous kalpa energy has turned to the current succeeding kalpa, then if we take that energy, this particular is written by Veda Vyasa. It is written.
Correct.
Veda Vyasa. In every Mahatantra, if that's so, then this Sahasranaama is written in which kalpa?
Okay, so that's a very nice question and a very technical question too, but I actually don't have the exact answer. So the shloka the mantra which I was referring to comes in the Purusha Suktam, the sixth verse, which says, okay, let me first read the Samskrita and then I will share it across in the group also. It says, Tasmad Virala Jayata Virajo Adhipurushaha Sajato Atyayichyata Paschad Bhumi Matho Puraha. So the translation goes like this. From him, the Purusha, was born the Virat. Virat means the cosmic being. And Purusha means that Brahman itself, that ultimate being. From that came Virat, which is the cosmic form, the actual material cosmic form, from the presence of the shining Purusha. He, the Virat, created the earth and all the worlds by manifesting her. Her means the earth, by using his own being as the substratum. This is the literal translation. And then Yat Purushena Havisha Deva Yajnamatanvata Vasanto Asya Sidajyam Grishma Yadva Sharadhavihi. With the Purusha as the fire, as the sacrificial fire, the Devas. And so here the English translation says those who were created by Virat, which means the first cosmic entity, continued the yajna. The yajna, which means the sacrifice of creation. And so when they sacrificed this Purusha, which means they actually, so it literally doesn't mean they killed him and put him in the fire. It just means that they transformed him, they metamorphosed him into what was the spring. Spring was created as the butter, as though it was the butter of the yajna. Summer was created as the fuel of the yajna. Autumn was created as the harvest of the yajna. This is the literal translation. And again, Swami Chinmayananda has written a very nice commentary on this. Anyway, we are digressing. And so the next verse says, Tam yajñam barhishi praukshan purushan jatamagrataha tena deva ayajanta sadhya rishayaschaye. The first divine men were created as the holy water is sprinkled on kusha grass. The first divine men were the sadhyas, the devas, and the rishis, who were created by him, the Virat, who performed the yajna, and so on and so forth. Now, coming back to our question here, so this is how the Purusha Suktam goes. It's a very enigmatic text, and there is no clarity as who these devas are being referred to. One, and secondly, yes, this kind of scientific interpretation. The energies of the whatever remnant energies of the previous kalpa was the previous cycle of creation. They must have come together in, maybe like a black hole or something, and it must have sprung out the next universe. The coming to the kalpas themselves, yes, according to the Puranas, every kalpa is said to have these position holders of Indra, Agni, rishis too. And it is said to be very cyclical, which means in the previous kalpa, the very exact same events which are happening now have already happened. And in the kalpas to follow too, it will be the very same. So it's the same tape recorder going round and round and round. And so yes, Veda Vyasa is present in every kalpa too. Yes, ma'am. Please go on.
Is it okay? I could take.
Please go on. Yes, go on.
So if that is the case, did Kalpa Vedavyasa is repeated? So the Kalpa, if you don't remember exactly how many Vedas are there in the Kalpa, if that is the case, there is this Dashavatara repeats in every Astra.
Yes, that's correct. And not just the avatars, all the Rakshasas also will be the same. All the Devas also will be the same. In the sense, the position holders will be the same. All the positions are the same. And Vishnu will take these avatars again and again. That's correct.
So 10 avatars repeats.
The Puranas don't really limit themselves to 10. That is actually a modern phenomenon. Modern in the sense like some 1,000 or 1,500 years onwards, it is that he only has taken 10 avatars. But in fact, the Bhagavata and the Vishnu Puranas talk about many more avatars of his also. Yes, but these 10 also will happen. Dhanyo. Very nice question. Very nice question. Very interesting questions. Yes, ma'am. Go on. Bhavani, ma'am. Do you have a question?
Sorry. I just wanted to just continue with this question that the same things are going to be repeated. I remember reading this very thing also in Swami Vivekananda, one of his yogas. I don't remember which one. That just as I'm talking to you, I have done that in many previous kalpas, and I will do that in many future kalpas also. He has said.
Oh, okay.
He has said that it is one of his yoga terms.
Oh, very interesting. Okay.
Yes. And then one thing that this probability theory somehow breaks down here, isn't it? Because when you say that the very same things are happening, you are excluding the probability of other things happening. No, I mean, there are so many possibilities
Correct.
which are, but here we are, the very, it is following just that very, you know,
Predetermined path. Yeah,
yes.
correct, correct. That's actually true. I mean, I also don't have an answer why it is so, but at least the Shastras say it is that every kalpa is just a repetition of the previous. But yeah, maybe within the kalpa itself, for example, probability is always of future events. So we cannot really define probability of past events. So at this point, maybe the probability of me sleeping at 10 o'clock, maybe some 1% or 10% maybe. But whether or not it happens again is to be seen. So in that sense, in each kalpa, there is this apparent illusion of free will and therefore of probability. But yes, in the grand scheme of things, they always tell everything is already set in stone, everything has already been determined by Ishvara itself.
That's right. So there is thing as free will. It's just a feeling that there is free will.
Correct.
Actually, there isn't.
Correct. So I think Swami Vivekananda gives a very nice reconciliation between this freedom, free will versus destiny thing, that in the larger picture, it is destiny which is working, whereas in the smaller picture, free will works. So as a jiva, we do have free will, or I mean, we can argue if it is just a feeling or if it is an illusion. But as jivas, he says we do have free will, and which is why he is very emphatic about being brave, doing this, doing that, and so on. But in the grand scheme of things, when we bring all these devas into perspective, yes, it becomes very predetermined. But very nice. I mean, I didn't know that Swami Vivekananda also had spoken about this. Very interesting. Dhanyawad. Yes, Pramodini ma'am, go on. Okay, correct. Correct. Absolutely. Beautiful also. Very beautiful. Hmm. Correct. Very true. Very true. That's actually, yeah, magnificent. Hmm. Yeah, Bhuta Vahana we would understand, but Bhuta Vahana Sarathi was the question, I think, because uh, correct, correct, correct. Thank you, thank you. I mean, I really, really am grateful for all your inputs. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Please do join us for the further classes too. Dhanyawad, ma'am. Yes, Usha, ma'am, please go on.
Yeah, I'm taking a lot of space here. Sorry. I just got an idea. I don't know whether it is applicable or usable, or it just doesn't fit into the objective of the session. It be like, broken, the words are broken so that it becomes easy to to remember. That's one point. Second point, if it doesn't take too much of time or everyone agrees and you are also okay with that, can the English explanation be made in a simpler Samskritam? Samskrita is if you are okay with that. Is that okay?
Okay.
So we learn both. I mean, actual whatever the words in Sanskrit as is, if we get into, we'll actually achieve three things at one go.
Correct. This is a very nice suggestion, ma'am. And in fact, I did consider that, but the only constraint here is with time. So I want to complete these at least 120 shlokas by sorry 150 shlokas by Shivaratri. And only for that time, with constraint in mind, I have been a little fast in explaining the meanings. But however, I can also share with you the document, the English translation document with the Samskrita word split, that is with the sandhis, with the samasas, and so on. I will be sharing that in the group. So you can refer to that. Yes, we will also discuss it, but that project we shall take up after the Shivaratri, because my objective of starting these classes is first to gain a good grasp and understanding secondary, but first grasp of how to chant the Shiva Sahasranaama, and that has been my primary objective. And I just wish that I can finish it before Shivaratri, so that on Shivaratri all of us at our homes can actually chant it very nicely. And so the more than yes, of course, the meanings are what gives the stotram its life. I understand that. But we cannot really go over each words in too much detail right now. Maybe we can do it in the future. Is it all right?
The other way around, taken a one shloka, make it as a Sarala Samskrita and Samrakshana kind of thing.
Okay.
But I'm asking too much. We're still.
It's a nice suggestion. Definitely, I will consider it. Like I said, after Shivaratri, ma'am. I will get back to you about it, because now the time is very less. So, and we have audience from non-Samskrita backgrounds too. So for that reason, I cannot really talk too much in Samskritam. I'll be relying on English. But yeah, maybe I will consider that suggestion. Whenever there are these samasas, I can definitely uh, make a mention of which samasa it is and so on in the subsequent classes.
Actually, yeah, explaining first in English and then just simply just two sentences in Samskrita and Samskrita, so that gradually how the child picks up the language. I mean,
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Surely, ma'am. Thank you. Any other questions? Any other suggestions or inputs? No? Okay. Thank you. Dhanyavadaha. Namaskar.
Dhanyawad. Dhanyawad. Thank you.